Welcome back to the gutter, the Grindhouse gutter. I'm Josh. I'm joined here with Donnie
Yo,
and the Professor Smoak.
What's up?
And the entire premise of Grindhouse Gutter is we let the professor take us down the back alleyways of the grindhouses and the old kind of drive-in and B movie lane, and he makes a selection every month, and we just have a little bit of fun with it. And he gives out his Grindhouse Gutter ratings at the end, and then we have specialized. We don't call they're not star. It's basically star ratings 0 to 5, but we don't call them stars. We have it depends on what kind of genre movie it is that we're talking about. So if we're talking about an exploitation movie, it gives out X's. If we're talking about an action movie, it's choppas. If it's a horror movie, I think it's cleavers, right? And
yeah.
then if it's a martial arts kung fu type movie, then he'll give out shurikens. So
Sure.
what did you bring us this month, Smoke?
Oh yeah, this time we're speaking of martial arts. We're dipping back into that again, as we will here quite often, as it is one of my favorite, well, genres in general, but also one of my favorite grindhouse subgenres is a kung fu slash. Well, really the technical, oh not technical, but the slang word in the grindhouse days was chop sake, and that pretty much covers anything from kung fu to ninja to all basically all forms of martial arts types of movies. So this one though is from 1976, and it's Master of the Flying Guillotine from director and actor Jimmy Wang Yu. Not a Shaw Brothers production, but it does kind of come from that. It's got that same feel, of course. And Jimmy Wang Yu is an alumna of Shaw. He started out in Shaw. Actually, there was a Shaw Brothers movie, not to be confused with this one, called The Flying Guillotine from 1975. So it has nothing to do with this one, other than the fact that that is the movie that kind of introduced this very unique weapon, right?
Yeah, you could say, yeah, very unique. And there's a lot of uniqueness in this movie. I'll say that. Like, and
Oh yeah,
you can definitely see where a lot of video games of say like the 90s got a lot of inspiration from this stuff, right? Like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat and a handful of other games.
yeah, yeah. And I don't know that it's ever. I haven't seen anything that's concrete to say, hey, this character was based on this. But there's no way you can't. I don't think there's a way you can look at the character in here that's the Indian yogi,
Yeah.
martial artist character, and see anybody but Dalsim from Street Fighter
Yeah,
with a
it's not a
extendable,
coincidence. It cannot
extendable
be a
arm.
coincidence.
No,
No,
no.
I don't think it could be. I mean, the whole tournament background of this movie. I mean, that's not even really the main plot. It just happened. The main plot we'll get into, but it's set around a tournament, martial arts type tournament, one-on-one fighter style, just like the video games would come out, like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, and all those other ones. Again, also there's a character much like Raiden, who is a Japanese assassin, and he wears the conical hat, like in another movie we've done on here, Shogun Assassin, those types of that look or whatever, like Raiden has.
The one thing that I think made it really unique and a lot of like what in the world is going on here is like just the random I stopped short of saying supernatural, but like superpowers out of nowhere. Like
Oh yeah.
it all seems like fairly normal, ground level martial arts type stuff, and then all of a sudden, like a dude's arms will grow, or and the outlandish ways some of the people die in the movie. It's crazy.
Yeah, this actually is kind of a subgenre, you might say. You got kung fu films, which are a subgenre of martial arts or whatever, but within kung fu films, you also have wuxia, or however it's pronounced different ways. I don't know the correct Chinese pronunciation for it, but it's spelled Wuxia, which is sort of that fantastical type elements that go on within the movie that are sort of, like you said, superhuman aspects, or a lot of wire work flying around and that type of thing.
Or that dude in the that's sitting there eating in the diner or whatever, and like
Yeah. Takes the whole chicken.
yeah, and he, yeah,
Devour the entire
yeah,
chicken.
but like he swats some flies, and then he starts bragging that he killed seven at once or whatever.
Yeah,
And
that's a that. Go ahead.
basically, just because
Sorry.
he's got one arm, the guy that's got the flying guillotine, right? He just jumps out, throws that thing, and then just lops the dude's head off. I mean, it's just like, whoa.
And all
Oh man.
because we should say this, and I should say this, and I didn't tell you all this, and I don't know if y'all found out on your own, but this is actually a sequel to the One Armed Boxer.
Oh, okay.
I guess
I didn't know that.
maybe I should have started with the one-armed boxer, but
Yeah, one-armed boxer came out in 72. This was 70. Was
yeah,
it 76?
I think it was.
76. Yep.
So what? So was that required viewing in the sense of like you would understand the story of this one a little more if you'd watched that one?
Not entirely. I mean, it will definitely enhance it and add to it. I'll get back. I'll circle back around to that and pick that one up at some point, but not necessarily. I mean, the first time I saw this movie, I had not known. I didn't even know about One Arm Boxer when I first saw this one. So it was back in the VHS rental days and whatnot. And so, and I mean, I enjoyed it thoroughly then without knowing anything about the original one. And then when you see the original, you say, "Oh, okay, this is that character, and it's more involved with it, you know, with a one arm boxer."
Did the version that you guys watch like kind of slip in and out of Chinese and then back to English sub?
Yeah, I was like,
yeah,
wait a second.
Yeah, with no subtitles, right?
No, it's like all of a sudden
Yeah.
like they're talking and then it would just slip back into Chinese, no subtitles for
It
like,
happened primarily. The main one that I noticed was when the guy's daughter and him were talking. Like she was talking to her dad, and then it was it was in English, and then all of a sudden, like
Chinese. Yeah, it was
Chinese,
almost
yeah.
like whoever did the dubbing was like, and whatever they're saying is not important. Like you'll get the gist of it after they're done. You know, you can just pick up the pieces. We're not. You know, maybe they saved a few bucks by not dubbing the entire. I don't know, but it's so intermittently random though. I was just wondering whether it was just the copy that I was watching.
No,
I'm assuming that those language, you know, the Chinese language scenes were maybe scenes that were, for whatever reason, some characterization or whatever that maybe were snipped out just to make the movie pacing a little bit better for American audiences. That's my guess. You might have noticed the music. I don't know if you dug into that, the music, and it's not that uncommon for these kung fu movies to sort of cannibalize music from various places and not actually get the copyright, you know, the copyrighted music and not permission to do so. This one, it's like mostly krautrock bands. There's a couple of Kraftwerk songs. Tangerine Dream was used, as well as Neu. This German krautrock band called Neu is the main theme that you'll hear when the Flying Guillotine assassin is on screen. Is that sort of industrial electronic type sound? That's from that Neu song.
I will say one aspect of it that was a little confusing was whether or not, you know, the master of the Flying Guillotine, I forget what his name was, the character name, that guy, you know, with the old guy with the beard and everything that was killing people with the hat, right? It was at first it was kind of hard to pick up on whether you should be pulling for him. Is he the protagonist or the antagonist? You know, like maybe there's some of that dialogue missing there that would explain it a little better, but it was kind of hard to like, should I be rooting for this guy or?
Now that's where that might be where, now like I said, his character, the Flying Guillotine guy is not, you know, part of the one armed boxer movie, but yeah, you would get more of the one armed boxer and then see kind of how he's sort of, I guess you could say, the good guy in the movie. You
know, we keep talking about this guy and the whole master of the Flying Guillotine concept and everything, but we haven't explained what the hell the Flying Guillotine is. So try to explain as best you can what that is.
Well, if I were to explain, let's say somebody has never seen it, never seen a scene from the movie, or you say Flying Guillotine, and they might think that you're talking about some sort of a big bladed sword that he throws and it, you know, goes in and over in or something. No, not that at all. It's basically this is the simplest explanation I can give for it. Imagine you had a beekeeper's hat with a chain attached to it, and on the inside of the beekeeper's hat were blades that when you hit it, well, I don't know exactly how they operated. I don't know if there's a push button or something, but somehow or other, when he throws this hat on with a chain and it goes on, let's say somebody's head, he somehow, I don't remember seeing a button, but he somehow operates the blades. The blades pop out inside this hat to where the person's neck would be, and he jerks the chain or whatever, and that basically decapitates the person.
It doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense really if you're just listening to it, but it looks cool. So just go with it.
Yeah, definitely looks cool. Now, one thing too that I don't remember, I wish I should look this up beforehand, because us talking about it, I remember seeing some people test they made basically a Flying Guillotine thing and tried to test it to see how it would work in reality, and of course it didn't work at all.
All right, so I guess we'll let you do your Grindhouse gutter rating now. I'll explain what it is real quick before you do it. This is basically kind of the scale and like comparing all the different genres that we do here on the Grindhouse gutter to each other, 0 through 10. Does it encapsulate all the elements that make a good Grindhouse / drive-in B movie?
It checks off plenty of boxes for Grindhouse. kung fu, of course. I mean, good, decent martial arts choreography and everything. But the craziness though comes in, like you said, the the fantastical elements or supernatural elements of like the Indian yogi with the extended hands and just craziness like that, and just also the whole aspect of the flying guillotine itself, the concept of it, and the way it's used. There's more than a couple, or at least a couple, if not more, decapitations with the flying guillotine in there, as you would expect, and you get that payoff. I mean, as best as it can. I mean, this is not the highest budget kung fu film of the time, but they did what they could, with the budget. So, I think I have to go. I almost have to give this one a 9 on for the Grindhouse rating, just because of the absurdity of some of their things. I mean, hell, the flying guillotine assassin jumps through a roof at the very beginning of the movie. I mean, straight up through the roof and out and onto the ground outside. Yeah, I have to go with 9 on the Grindhouse rating.
All right, so now what's your Shuriken rating?
I would say I'll give it 4. I think I like it equally as much as that. I gave 4 to Five Fingers to Death, and I think I like this one equal. Well, the Five Fingers to Death was, as we mentioned, one of the early entries in the kung fu films for America. In other words, the one that kind of broke the kung fu genre in America in the Grindhouse, brought those types of movies into the Grindhouse, and opened the floodgates, so to speak, for more kung fu movies to come down. So this one being one of those that came through the floodgates, and I like it equally as much as, at least equally as much as Five Fingers to Death. So not quite on the level I gave Shogun Assassin, but just about there. I mean, Shogun Assassin has a bit more, I don't know if it's a bit more budget, I mean, just the crazy editing. That movie was like 3 movies edited down into one. The pacing is like tight. All kinds of craziness happens throughout the entire just about running time of Shogun Assassin. But this one's up there, a little bit under that one.
Well, this was the 10th edition of Grindhouse Gutter, so I've enjoyed the previous 9 and this one. And like Smoak just said, I think we all agree we highly recommend checking this movie out. And this will be one that we get around to in some other manner. We can take it a little bit of a deeper dive, because there's definitely some more that I'd love to talk about here, but we're a little crunched for time on here. But go ahead and if you've got it laid out and you know what we want to do next, Smoak, go ahead and let us know what the 11th edition will bring next month.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go back to, go back to, we've only done one of these, and that's exploitation movies on the Grindhouse Gutter, and that was Reform School Girls. And I don't know if I've mentioned it since then, but we've of course created Video Vortex, where we do video related things, and I probably would have included Reform School Girls on that if Video Vortex was a thing back then, because that movie's from the later '80s, a little bit in the mid to late, I think '86 maybe. So it really came in at the tail end of Grindhouse movies, and it was really more of a homage to Grindhouse movies than it was a Grindhouse movie in itself. So this one will be the first true Grindhouse exploitation movie that we'll do on the Grindhouse Gutter, and it's going to be Abel Ferrara's Miss 45. I wanted to get back to that since we haven't really done a proper one yet to the Grindhouse. I mean, Reform School Girls is a fun movie, sure, but this will be the first proper, Grindhouse exploitation movie we've done on the show.
Go over to aaspookshow.com. That's the center of the Spook Show universe. Not only do you have our past podcast archives there, but you can also check us out on Patreon, and also go to patreon.com/aaspookshow, where you get to see every month Crapster Piece Theater video minisodes featuring the Library of the Professor. So lots of stuff going on. So for Will, who couldn't be with us, Donnie, Professor Smoak, I'm Josh. We are the All American Spook Show, and we'll talk to you next month from Miss 45.